Evening, everyone. My name is Frank Doden, and I'll be chairing tonight's May 10th, 2022 meeting of the Yellow Springs Planning Commission. Would the clerk call the roll, please? See who's
yes,
here.
Indeed. Doden.
Here.
Greene.
Here.
Krieger.
Here.
Stiles.
Here.
Zaremski.
Here.
Also present is Planning and Zoning Administrator Denise Swinger and Village Solicitor Brianne Parcels.
Okay, thank you very much. First thing on the agenda is just to briefly go do a review of tonight's agenda. We'll cover the minutes of our last meeting. We'll talk a little bit about communications that we've received. Council report. Lisa, is there going to be a council report?
Yes, I do have one.
Okay. And then there'll be a period for citizen comments. Then we have one consent agenda item, 2 public hearings, and I don't see anything listed on old business or new business. So I guess we'll deal with those when we get down there. So let's start by reviewing the minutes of the April 12th, 2022 regular meeting. And so if the members of Planning Commission, I will just go through the minutes one page at a time and give everybody a couple seconds to respond. So are there any changes or corrections necessary on anything on page 1? Okay. Anything on page 2? Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. And that's about it. So I'll move that we approve the April 12th, 2022 minutes.
I second it.
Okay, would the clerk call the roll, please?
Yes, Stiles.
Yes.
Krieger.
Yes.
Zaremski.
Yes.
Greene.
Yes.
Doden.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, then next are communications, and at least according to our packet, there were 2 letters, is that right, Judy? One from Mitzie. Yeah, one from Mitzie Miller, just for sort of regarding zoning, sort of the larger issue of zoning changes or zoning reform. And then the other letter from Stephan Hetzler regarding the minor subdivision lot split on President Street, right? Were there any others?
You did have a 3rd letter that I just sent you through email earlier today from Zoe Van Meister, and she had objection to the transient guest lodging application, citing issues of keeping the neighborhood calm and quiet.
Okay. Okay. All right. Let's move on then to the council report. We'll deal with the content of the letters as the issues come up. So Lisa, council report.
Sure. Yeah, there were several agenda items that I thought seemed relevant to the Planning Commission. So based on a recommendation from the Planning Commission, there was an update to Ordinance 2022-14 that passed related to the numbering of buildings, and the bottom line on that was it adjusts the penalty for noncompliance in numbering to a civil infraction with a fee. Environmental Commission, and then to Council. I thought you might be interested in the Interim Climate Action and Sustainability Planning Report based on the work of consultant Piper Fernway. She identified a number of potential projects to pursue, all of which were related to these 7 domains that the Environmental Commission has identified as critical. These are energy and buildings, transportation, water, waste, native habitat, and local food. And in addition to the report, there were some additional activities, including a comprehensive study and analysis of climate action and Sustainability that looked at a number of municipalities in the country, as well as some international programs that was done by University of Dayton interns. And there's this project called the Sustainability Champions Project that supported initiatives led by local residents. These included the cool chimney swift tower that's being built at the former Union Schoolhouse, as well as the Yellow Springs Seed Library that's housed at the Yellow Springs Library. And membership in Power Clean Future Ohio, which is a consortium of Ohio communities that are dedicated to environmental health. The village manager presented a proposal to create a co-op and move forward with capital improvements at the Lawson Place apartments. And the council did not make a final decision about moving in the direction of a co-op. And additionally, from the village manager, we were thrilled to hear that a grant was secured for stormwater system along Dayton Street in the amount of $439,000. And there was no matching funds, and that's really, really great news. And then he also presented several projects focused on power purchase contracts and solar project exploration, including at the Sutton Farm, Blue Creek, and some other sites. Then finally, we voted to name Gavin DeVore Leonard as the new council member to take my position. And it's not yet decided which commissions he'll be covering, but any commission will be enhanced by his work. He's really terrific. And I just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity of serving with all of you on planning. It's been my honor. I'm sad to say goodbye. So thank you. That's my update.
Thank you, Lisa.
Oh, thank you very much, Lisa. Gary, I know you contacted me yesterday or something. Did you have a report?
Yeah.
Yeah. Take a couple of minutes for that right now.
Yeah, I have a brief update on the Active Transport Committee. And yeah, I wrote something up. I'm not quite sure how we'll distribute it, but I just wanted to highlight key things. The committee is still new in its formation, so there's not a lot to report. Key items are that Chris Pongiorno has agreed to be the chair of the committee, and Marion McQueen has agreed to be the secretary for the committee. We've also established a schedule. So we got some administrative stuff worked out here. We've agreed on a schedule, a monthly meeting that'll be the third Tuesday of every month at 9 a.m. And although our first meeting will actually be at 8:30, but that's besides the point. So as I mentioned, our initial meetings have been really just discussing initial formative activities, clarifying the role of the committee and stuff like that. And I have just 3 line items that summarize the types of formative activities. I won't go into any of the details on any of them. One is reviewing the existing active transport plan, really looking through it. And there's many elements of you're not just looking at it, you're studying it a little bit. Okay, I'll leave it at that. The second topic that we've discussed a bit in terms of trying to have to think more about how to move forward is we've established a committee membership, and we're discussing whether the existing membership of 6 or 8 people or whatever adequately reflects the diversity and the demographics of the village. So we're discussing a little bit of, are we a good representation of the village? Should we be reaching out to someone or other otherwise? And so that's a bit of discussion. And the third and final item that's in a broad category is defining what the ongoing activities would be for the committee. It's good for a committee to know what it's supposed to be doing. And we've listed you know, a good 10 or 12 items. I won't get into them. But there's a variety of different categories of what we look at, what we think about, what we recommend, and what we versus what we don't. And that's pretty much what we've been doing. Once again, it's early, it's formative, and my intention is to have an update every month that presumably will start having a little more of topics of substance in terms of what we're coming up with. That's what I have.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think Josue, was he going to be reporting on anything? Okay.
No.
All right. That gets us through citizen comments. Let's move on then to the, no, we need to move on to citizen comments. And normally this is opportunity for any citizens to speak about any topic that's not on tonight's agenda. I know we're making a special exception tonight for Steve, but first of all, let's address, are there any citizens out there who would like to comment about anything that's not on tonight's agenda? I'll give people a couple of seconds to raise their hand or electronically or chime in.
Frank, I'm not seeing anyone, and I do have the stopwatch on, so I'll give a reminder to get to 3 minutes.
Okay, so we're going to have Steve Hetzler, who wrote a letter concerning the minor subdivision, the lot split on President Street. So, Mr. Hetzler, are you there somewhere?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Could you present your thoughts then, please, in about 3 minutes or so?
All right, thank you.
Okay. There you are.
Can you move closer to the camera?
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
Members of the Planning Commission, village zoning officials, and concerned citizens. My name is Steve Hetzler, and I'm strongly opposed to placing a second house on the lot at 1540 President Street. I live at 1560 President, next door to 1540. Paul and Melissa Herzog have been renting and living at 1540 President for 2 to 3 years. They have 2 grade school children. They went to buy the house owned there by Robert and Monica Hasek. The Haseks are living in Portland, Oregon, as far as I know, and would probably remain there while disruptions and construction dangers occur at 1540 President. The Herzog family would probably be evicted or coerced to leave 1540 President Street because of the construction noises and demolition of the shed at the eastern edge of the Hasek property. That shed is about 15 feet from my kitchen window at 1560 President Street. The shed would be torn down to accommodate new housing, and more bulldozing would occur to level the slope where a new house would be built. Construction would probably last about 2 years and would pose continuing danger to the many persons who travel on President Street by foot, by car, and by bicycle. It should be borne in mind that there are no sidewalks on public property on President Street. Around 50 to 60 households on President Street, Rice Road, Glenview Road, Orton Road, and Corey Street would be hounded by decline in air quality and construction dust and noise made by power saws, hammers, and cement mixers. Suppose that some of the construction workers became afflicted by the COVID virus and exposed local strollers or exercising residents. Many elderly persons as well as young families might become infected and suffer life-threatening illness. 10 million American citizens have now died from the mutating virus. Further, my home and many nearby homes would decline in property value. A financial threat my Xenia lawyer mentioned would occur to my home and property. Naturally, similar decline would befall many neighboring homes. In light of the dangers and disruptions that would be caused by construction on another house by the Haseks at 1540 President Street, I request, I implore, and I beseech denial of permission and quote lot splitting to transpire at 1540 President Street. All residents of the southeastern edge of the village are entitled to quiet enjoyment of their homes and property. Such enjoyment would be shattered by long-term construction uproar. Thank you for your reflections on this matter.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, there weren't any, you didn't see any other citizen comments, did you, Judy?
I did not.
Okay, Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to the consent agenda item then. Having heard from Mr. Hetzler and also seen the letter that he sent in earlier. Denise, would you like to speak about it? The staff report?
Monica Hasek submitted an application for the minor subdivision for a lot split at 1540 President Street. The minor subdivision has had a utilities review by Public Works. It meets all the conditions of approval and doesn't need additional review by the Planning Commission. Furthermore, the lot split meets the overarching goal of the comprehensive land use plan, which is to promote residential infill development on vacant lots that have public utilities. As I said, this is in our residential A, which is the low density, and it does meet all of the zoning requirements for residential A, which is at least a 60-foot frontage and a 7,500 square foot size.
Okay. Do any members of the Planning Commission have any questions?
I have one minor question that's sort of just to clarify, just so everybody's aware. So what's being talked about is the lot being split. Then there'll be a new lot created from the side of it. It'll be a new independent lot. So if a house is built there, it isn't like there's two houses going on an existing lot. Becomes a new independent lot, and the owner of that lot's able to do whatever they can within allowable zoning, correct?
That's correct. It will get its own parcel ID number from Greene County, and it'll be a separate lot.
As this is a consent agenda item, basically we would just, and as Denise has pointed out, it meets all the requirements. That we just need a motion to approve the consent agenda item, unless there's any members of Planning Commission who would prefer to have this moved to new business and discuss it further.
I would like to move approval of the consent agenda item.
I'll second.
Okay. It's been moved and second that we approve the consent agenda item. Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Yes, Stiles.
Yes.
Krieger.
Didn't hear you, Lisa.
Yes.
Thank you, sorry. Greene.
Yes.
Zaremski.
Yes.
Doden.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, that then moves us to the public hearings. The first is Theodora Stefan requested an amendment to the Village Yellow Springs official zoning district map to rezone property at 110 East Center College Street. Denise, would you like to talk about that, please?
Sure. So as you may recall, Theo came to us a year ago about having her business opportunity there on that property. She decided that just wasn't large enough property to do everything that she wanted to do. So she has abandoned that. She's actually purchased a property, a larger property just outside of town for that business. And she is asking to have this rezoned. It does meet the requirements for rezoning, which is that it has to abut an existing zoning district that so you're not basically creating a spot zone. And if you can see on this property, it is on all three sides, it is residential C. So it would be logical to go ahead and allow that to be residential C. She would be coming back then later for a lot split, which would probably go on as a minor subdivision, just like you just did for the consent agenda. But that's pretty much it. It's pretty straightforward.
Any members of the Planning Commission have any questions for Denise?
Yes, I have one. So this property was initially part of Antioch?
Yes.
Okay, and that's why when she bought it, and came for, was it conditional use?
It was conditional use. Single family dwellings are conditional use in the educational institution district. Plus she was doing a teaching kind of culinary classes. So she kind of got approval for several things at that meeting. Yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
Need to see the map on the screen. Are you good?
No.
Yeah. Anybody need to see the map?
No.
Okay. Okay, no other questions. I'll go ahead and.
Well, I'm just going to ask Denise, in this, how many lots can this potentially be?
4.
Okay. And those would be 50 feet wide?
Yes. I mean, with residential C,
you can do
it's 40 feet. So, I mean, feet. I think she could actually probably even do 40 feet. I don't know if that she wants to go 5, but there is that potential.
Okay.
As long as it meets all the other, it'd have to have 4,800 square feet of property and 40 square feet of, 40 square feet is not very, very wide, but it is possible.
Theodora, you're here, right? Is there anything you'd like to say, or do you think Denise has covered it pretty well?
Denise has covered it quite expertly, yes.
Okay. All right, well then I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing, and we'll give members of the public, a little bit of time to either electronically wave their hand or physically wave their hands to try to get our attention to see if there's any public comments on this. Anybody seeing anything?
Nope. I'm not seeing anything, Frank.
Okay. All right. Well, then I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to Planning Commission for any additional discussion or questions anybody has.
Well, Theodora, just do you, are you planning on splitting it into 4 lots? I mean, it doesn't really, doesn't make any difference. You can do what you want. I just was curious. That was the plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve. Let's see. There aren't any conditions on this, that we approve the request. What do I need exactly to say for this?
It's basically making a recommendation to council, because this then has to go to council and it has to pass with the first and second reading by ordinance, because it's a rezoning of a zoning district.
Yeah, okay. Your review factors are in 1280-02, which I believe Denise put in her staff report.
Okay, so I move that we approve this, that we send it to Village Council per section 1280-02 for Village Council review.
I'll second that.
Oh. We raced the race to seconding.
Okay, would the clerk call the roll, please?
Yes. Greene.
Yes.
Stiles.
Yes.
Zaremski.
Yes.
Krieger.
Yes.
Doden.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Go on to the second of the public hearings. Sarah Strong has submitted an application to operate a transient guest lodge establishment at 256 Northwood Drive. Denise, would you like to go discuss the planning, report on this?
Yes. So Sarah Strong, did you get something today? She did get her her Miami Township Fire and Rescue. I saw that came through today. So she did get that approval. So she just wants to use part of her house for part-time transit guest lodging. Originally when council allowed for accessory dwelling units, and then further with other transit guest lodgings, it was to be able to enable people to make a little bit of income so they can stay in their homes. And in this case, Sarah is, you probably remember Sarah, she was here last year for the kids camp that she does. She does art classes in the summertime and throughout the year, but then she has a kids camp in the summer there. She did not have any objections from abutting neighbors. I do understand that there was one objection from Zoe Van Eaton-Meister, but she doesn't live on either side of that house. So I just wanted to let you know that. So she meets all of the requirements for that. She does live there. This is her primary residence, and she is going to be just using it on occasions when she's either out of town or, pretty much that's when she's going to use it, when she goes out of town. I think the only thing that she didn't have was like an extra parking space on the property, but there is parking on the street, and if that's even necessary, I think she has one vehicle. So you're required to have 2 vehicles per single family dwelling, but I think she probably only has one. You can ask her that. And that's it. Staff recommends approval of this.
Do any members of the Planning Commission have any questions for Denise? Okay, what about, hi, Sarah, I see you joined us via video. Hi. Anything you'd like to say in addition to what Denise has told us? Oh, you're muted.
Thank you.
There you go.
I do have a long driveway, and if I'm not here, my car will be very likely not here either. So I have 2 spots in my driveway and 2 spots on the street. And I am interested in doing this because as an artist and educator, it gives me a creative solution to being able to afford to be here and to have home improvements and maintain my residence and have a lovely home, and it will help me do that.
Any members of the Planning Commission have any questions for Sarah?
I do.
Yeah,
Sarah,
Susan.
how frequently are you gone that you'll be renting it?
Honestly, I haven't done this before, so I don't know if I'm even going to like it. My daughter is having a baby this summer, and so I want to be gone for a couple of weeks this summer to be available to her. And so that's my initial situation, is that I want to be away to help my daughter. And after that, I don't imagine doing it all that often, but again, I might love it. It might be a great money opportunity for me to have some replace my roof and things like that, and have my savings account for my home improvement. So I can't imagine doing it very often though, because I do have my children's program and I am here all the time with my children's program, and I really love my house. So I can't imagine that and travel is expensive.
So you're not planning on just renting out a room?
I do have a room that I might decide to rent out a room from time to time, but predominantly it's going to be if I'm traveling, and most specifically this summer while my daughter is having a baby.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Sarah? Okay, I'll go ahead then and open the public hearing on this conditional use application. And once again, if there's any members of the public who would like to comment on this, we'll give you a few seconds to raise your hand, wave, let us know you're there.
I see no flailings, Frank.
I don't see anything either, so. All right, well then I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to Planning Commission. Does anybody have any additional questions or concerns?
Go ahead.
Steve.
Well, so Sarah, I just had a question. So you haven't done this before. Are you planning on, do you have any way of like screening the people who you'd be renting to? Or are you planning on using like a service or like a website that rates people?
Absolutely. I live here, and I absolutely do not want unvetted strangers in my home or in my community. So I plan to use Airbnb, and they have a fairly intensive vetting process, and I also have higher restrictions because I've looked into the whole process to see if it was something I was interested in doing. And so I've researched it, and I even have the ability to make it extra strict, meaning people that have only been approved for only have good standing with previous Airbnb guest lodging experiences and that sort of thing. So it's well vetted through Airbnb, and I absolutely will be using a like service or that service to be sure that these people are known and screened and answerable.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Other questions, or is there somebody else who was going to ask a question? Yeah, Susan.
Well, I was just wondering, and I guess this is actually for Denise, have we had any complaints about any of the transient guest lodging?
No, I had asked the police department recently, and they said the biggest thing that they've had calls on is people who get locked out of their cars or locked out of the house that they're renting. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, and I said that they haven't had anything, no.
So it hasn't been a problem that it's disturbed neighbors.
Right. No, I mean, it's like, if you recall when Joel Levinson was here last month talking about it, you know, because it's their homes, they're not really going to want to rent it out for big parties and things like that. And I'm sure they don't want to upset their neighbors either. So yeah, we just haven't seen that. Okay. Yeah. And what we've discovered just recently, you know, with the changes that we've made between non-operator occupied and now, you know, which you can no longer have that unless you're a bed and breakfast or you're a hotel, is that there's just a lot of demand for these here. I mean, there's a few, I mean, we got a report on income, and there was one that over $100,000 last year was brought in for their Airbnb.
And it was right around this time last year that the changes were proposed and went through Planning Commission and Council to make it so that the non-operator occupied would be restricted. And that was when we pulled the PD report. And if you want us to get another report from PD, since it's been almost a year, we can do that. But as Denise said, the general issue was people getting locked out. We didn't have that much in the way of noise, loud parties, alcohol. It wasn't there.
Okay.
All right, and Denise, you said that the reinspection by the fire department did take place?
So one of the things in talking with Chief Altman is they're going to, because we've now said an annual inspection, they were already interested in doing that. They didn't realize, I don't think they even realized it was in our code that way. But that is something that they want to do as well. So we've sent them the addresses of everyone, even those that were approved before we implemented that requirement. So they'll be contacting all of the Airbnbs and making sure they annually get a fire inspection.
All right. Any additional questions or concerns anybody has? Somebody like to make a motion?
Well, I move we approve the conditional use transient guest lodging for 256 Northwood Drive.
I'll second.
Okay. All right. Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Greene.
Yes.
Krieger.
Yes.
Zaremski.
Yes.
Stiles.
Yes.
Doden.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sarah. All right. I guess that gets us down to next item on the agenda, old business. Don't see anything there. Nope. New business.
Nope. I have one thing.
Huh? Who said that?
Planning Commission has asked regarding training, and generally speaking, The Ohio chapter of the American Planning Association puts out its Citizens Planning Academy in May. I still have not seen an agenda for it. However, I have uploaded all of last year's training sessions to a SharePoint site. So I'm going to be working with the village manager to get all of you access to that. If you haven't already viewed those videos, we sent those out last year, but we have a few new members on that probably didn't get to see them. So sometime in 2022, they will be doing another Citizens Planning Academy. The Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission is also doing a Plan for Health workshop on May 17th from 2 to 3:30. That's in Dayton at the Business Solutions Center, and it is free. And I wanted to point this out because Gary is involved in the Active Transportation Committee, that this is the type of initiative, but it's open to every community in the Miami Valley. So if any planning commission members want to go, again, that's May 17th from 2 to 3:30. The central,
I mean, how it's, you have to register, or you just show up?
You register on the mvrpc.org website.
Okay.
Okay. The Central Ohio American Planning Association event is going to be at OSU. They are back to in person, but there is a cost to attend that. So I'm going to ask if they're going to be making video of those available after the fact. That's on May 20th. So that's the only new business I have.
Okay, great.
Yeah, Susan.
I just wanted to mention, I've attended the last two trainings that I think it's the county.
Greene County, yeah, regional planning
has had for planning and for zoning. And I do want to say one of the things that we're very fortunate is that we have Brianne at our meetings, because it appears to me most of the planning, maybe Beaver Creek, some of the larger ones have their attorneys there, but the others don't. And in fact, they rely upon the attorneys at the county. And they were, alerting us to certain things. If this comes up, you should have your attorney there. And I thought, boy, we're really fortunate that we have Brianne here. So thank you to Denise and Josue and Brianne for having that, because I know she is the attorney is so vital in a number of things that we consider.
Yeah, it's interesting in the townships, they use the Greene County Prosecutor's Office.
Yes.
I think they're appointed an attorney through, I think it's just, Brianne, that's a state requirement, right?
Yeah, there's a procedure for home rule townships to get their own law directors, but everyone else, statutory counsel is the prosecutor.
Yeah. Well, that spreads them thin, so you can see why they're not showing up to all the meetings.
Yeah, and they didn't seem as knowledgeable as Brianne.
There you go. There you go. All right. All right.
Well, under agenda planning.
Agenda planning. Nothing solid yet. I mean, it's kind of early, but I don't know. I had two things pending that I thought might come, but I haven't heard from them yet. Those would be conditional use hearings. The major subdivision for the Kinney Farm is, I sent a message yesterday, and they communicated back that their engineers are not going to be ready for the June meeting, which I anticipated that because they have to do quite a bit, an environmental phase one, a traffic study, and of course they have to do all of the engineering drawings for the infrastructure and the streets and all that fun stuff. So they would have had to turn it in by next Friday. I mean, in order to be on the June. I expect in July.
What's the date of the June meeting?
I think it's the 14th. Let me see. Yeah, June 14th.
Okay. And is there anything coming down the pike coming from Village Council with respect to zoning or really zoning?
Judy, that's a Judy question. I'm not aware of anything yet.
Yeah.
No, there's not. And I think at some point, probably you might want to have a conversation about how you might want to look at the comments that have been made about zoning reform, and whether you might want to look at revising the zoning code. That is, it's a major undertaking. It requires budgeting, all the kinds of things. And so I think it would be great if the there was a recommendation coming from Planning Commission in that regard. Just as you have spoken amongst yourselves, you see what's coming in terms of conditional uses, that kind of thing, that you might make a recommendation to council. They go into the budgeting process very preliminarily, late September, kind of kicks into gear mid-October, just to give you a time frame for when Planning Commission might want to hold a conversation about that.
When was the last time it was revised?
2013.
Because I understand, I think you're supposed to do it, what, every 10 years?
You know, there's no rule of thumb on that. There is for the comp plan. Okay. But, you know, I was at a zoning meeting and I think Centerville was still using the code from 1980 something. And some other community, it's not something that is done very often. And as I recall, if my memory serves me right, I mean, it was a 6-figure project or close to it when we did it in 2013. I mean, it took over a year with a consultant, and he had a committee. You had planning commission, right, Judy? Pretty much, it was planning commission as the committee.
No, there was a technical review committee.
A technical review committee. That's right. And so it had planning commission members on it.
And I think Lori was on it from Village Council.
For council, yeah. So
I remember, it took a lot of time.
It took a long time, but you know, that was a complete major overhaul. Yeah. And I don't know if this needs to be a complete major overhaul, right, or if it just needs to be, you know, reviewed and tweaked. And that would be something, I guess, maybe if you want us to put that under new business or something to discuss, like Judy suggested, maybe a letter, but maybe you guys want to talk about it first in a meeting to see.
I think that'd be a good
want to recommend.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea.
Okay. Well, if there's anything, Frank, you want me to pull together for you in order to have that discussion, let me know.
Okay.
And that, I mean, that's kind of the redoing pieces of the zoning code is like, you know, sawing off one leg of your chair to make it even.
Yeah.
It goes like that. So you just have to be for the.
Unless you have a 3-legged chair.
You know, it's funny though when she says that, because everything that you do, it can impact other things. Like I literally was looking at something yesterday and thought, I think it was in the planning code. Another thing where I missed Greene County building regulations. I'm like, I'm just not going to deal with it right now, but at some point we're going to have to, you know, revise that. And it's like, when you make a change, it can impact so many other sections of the code. And so we have to pay attention to that as well.
I thought I would mention, as long as we're talking about some future meetings, just for planning purposes, I will not be available on the June 14th meeting. So just so you know, you'll need an alternate on that. Mm-hmm. The July meeting, I should be able to make, although it'll take a little bit of
July 12th
of an arrangement on my part, but that's still 2 months away. I'll talk to you about it later.
Yeah, I suspect we'll be taking a vacation sometime July or August, and so I may. But we haven't picked any dates yet. So.
Oh, you should go in August when council goes.
Yeah.
Council always goes in August.
Since you mentioned that, Frank, that's actually a good point. We're sort of mandated to go back to in-person meetings starting in July.
In July.
Yeah, just FYI. So June will be the last Zoom meeting. And I would say at that meeting, perhaps there could be a brief conversation about whether, you know, what kind of safety protocols you comfortable with, so that we have folks ready to come back for that in-person meeting
and see what the numbers are doing by then.
What is the month that we usually have off?
August.
August. Well, council tends to have, always has the first meeting in August off, and it just seems like that's a time when things slow down here. I don't know that they will for planning. They didn't last year, but.
So we probably won't have an August meeting. Is that correct?
We may not. I think last year we did not, because you were gone too. So we just didn't, but I can't say that yet.
Okay.
We could still end up having one.
And I would think too, if the major subdivision is not ready in July, it's probably going to be ready in August, and that would be one that you wouldn't want to.
Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of too soon to say, but if there isn't anything, definitely we will not hold a meeting for no reason.
All right. Anything else on agenda planning anybody would like to bring up? All right. That gets us down to adjournment. I would move that we adjourn.
I second it.
Seconded. If there's no objections, I guess we will just be adjourned then after a very quick meeting. So.
Bye, Lisa.
Bye, Lisa.
Bye, Lisa.
Thank
Bye, Lisa.
you.
I really am going to miss you.
I'm just going to.